Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. Sorry for the technical issues. Let me know if the audio is better now, and we're gonna start from scratch if the audio is decently good. In the meantime, just have a look at the chart and let me know if everything is loading decently fast. We're having a move on the price in here, which I wanna cover, but hopefully we're not having technical issues. So it's great now. People are saying that it's all good. So hopefully we're not going to have any more hiccups. I'm going to leave the window here with your comments. If you start seeing any technical issues, just let me know so I don't have to do the stream 10 times and repeat it. I think the restart did the trick. Obviously, now I need to reload all the stupid charts. All right, so we were saying that on the 4-hour, we had the breakdown, and it's been pretty decent for a 4-hour meltdown from the top, but we could continue in that direction. There is an opportunity to go to the upside, I think, because it's been just quite extensive. Like, this is comparable to that move there. So it's if like we were here, right? In here, we built a hidden divergence. There was a bit more downside, but eventually, you know, we found a way to do a swing high. So I think there will be some development in here that eventually built some swing high in this area. That's why I have a short at the moment at 72.5. It's a size, let me tell you the size. The size is size 2, if I remember right. I sent the size already to my Patreon members, but I sent it, I think, yesterday, and I already forgot. In terms of a long, I am interested in this area of the $68,000 if we get there. If we continue just in a straight line without having first a swing, then I'm pretty interested on the 68. I think on the 68 we have a decent liquidation. Let's have a very quick look at Market Monkey Terminal. It's located there at 68,800. This one overlaps liquidations from multiple exchanges. I think I have it like that. Yeah, if not, maybe I'm wrong. But I think in this area in there's a pretty decent liquidation coming from this spring there. We have another larger one at 65. And in terms of order book at the moment, there is a decent order at 65,600. So I'm interested in the 68 because there is also the profile there that I think I show it to you on the 4-hour. The sound and video are good. That's great to hear. I was about to drop the towel, but you know, guys, I care about my community, and I keep insisting, despite the fact that if this was just for me, I will just say, you know, FI, you know what I mean, and I will just throw the towel and go and chill. But I really wanna share my opinion on what's going on in here, and since prices now with 3 candles in red, people are starting to freak out. There is a developing breakdown on the daily as well, which is also important. We don't know how we are going to close the daily. Notice that yesterday we closed at support. So this intra candle still has the opportunity to reclaim support if something significantly changes in the narrative and surprise everybody, because people are seeing the breakdown and they're having panic. But if this candle gets bought up into potentially above 71,000, then that points up, and that becomes just another bounce of support. And that's why I think if intra candle we can accelerate, and on the 4-hour, if we could do this recipe, I would love this recipe, which is on the 4-hour. Where the hell is the 4-hour? Here. If on the 4-hour, we go straight to the target of 68 without diversions, without doing this, without resetting. So just pure puke into the 68, and we encounter this area of volume profile while the RSI is about to hit the percentile, so that it becomes really stretching it a lot on the 4-hour. That allows for some sideways, allows for a little bit of bounce, and And maybe with an overlap with a change in the narrative, which at the moment is extremely bearish, then we can get a surprise move to the upside. That surprise move to the upside can become something like, you know, like a move like this. It could be a lower high or hopefully a higher high, but I don't count on that. Okay, so if you enter around this area and we see a reaction to the 68 and we hold it on the 15-minute time frame and we see some formation on the 15-minute time frame with something decent there, and if we bounce from there, we could form a right shoulder, or we could put a new higher high. If we put a new higher high, that will be in line with the alpha from yesterday that say that in this timing we are supposed to move up on the fear and greed index from below 10 to around 47, and as far as I know, we are still on the 30s. Let me refresh that. I don't want to be just making that up. Fear and greed is at 23, so even lower, right? In seasonality speaking, after being at that drop there, you get a rally into the 47, and I show you in another chart that I don't have loaded here, that after you are below 10, you go into 47, and then you start beginning to form the foundation for a reversal of the bear market into bull market. Very early foundation, very long lasting, painful, boring, and people throw the towel. Okay, it needs to be like that. If it's not like that, it's not foundation. Okay, you don't take just a pinch and go back into bull market. If you expect that, you are retail. Okay, you are thinking like retail, because really a foundation needs to be painful, needs to be either painful because it's very sharply falling and killing everybody. That's one way, or it needs to be slow and painfully moving tiny bits to the downside. Look at 2022, we went into 17 and then only to 15. That is not a lot lower, just 2K lower. But we spent 200 days doing that. And people lost it. They were running on the streets, hitting each other. 12K is incoming, 10K, 9K is incoming, and never came. Because that length did the job, you know, of drilling your brain. So wait until your brain is drilled fully, and that builds the foundation. And I think we are expected to see a bit of upside in here. That's the takeaway, that we could get into that 47, if not now, if not in this move, in the next one. Okay, so if this doesn't get you to the next stop, it could be the next one. But I'm in favor of hitting resistance here. You can see an imaginary line there, down. Where do we meet with the line? At 47, and at some point we can hit that level, then get another rejection, and then we build a foundation in here above 10, around the 15, 16, and we stay there, 16, bull market. That's kind of the roadmap, and there was another alpha as well that was in favor for a bit more upside, which is the volume hitting an overextended level of volume using percentile. I hope you watched that video. If you didn't, it's literally a sin to miss that information, because that is kind of institutional level understanding of volume with actual statistics and stuff, you know, not just, there's a, look at that volume, looks big what? Big relative to what? No, you need to use percentiles, you need to use something to measure it. What's going on with the pricing here? We're still at 69,500. I really want to get to that 68. I got a question from someone that says, can you explain about how bottoms usually form? Well, I just explained it. So there's two ways, as I say. The sharp, massive capitulation, which is the one that everybody remembers. But the one that people tend to overlook is the flat one. That let's not go that lower than we are gonna go, and people suffer from that the same, if not worse. Because think about it, you hit 17 last bear cycle, and people spend 150, 180 days thinking that we are going to 9K and waiting there in cash to buy 9K, to buy 12K, but it didn't go there. And then suddenly you are at 23. And at 23 they buy, and then market maker sends you back to 20. That is a real market, okay? So expect a real market in the sense that it's either sharp down or painfully dragging, spend time, hugging your pillow and literally suffering from never landing where you want to be. A market does that to most people all the time. Here's the second alpha, right? Remember, the volume has not peaked going up. So don't read wrong my alpha. I am not saying that this cannot puke from here, okay? The alpha says something very clearly. It don't read between lines, don't misinterpret what I'm saying. What I'm saying is very clear. If we landed at 76 and we have a peak of volume in here, it will confirm, it will add to that setup a lot of extra conviction. It will turn it from a decent short, a bit too early, like I say yesterday, into a golden short, an institutional short, a magnificent short. Does that mean that we can only pull back and puke from an institutional short? No, there can be shorts from anything. There can be a short right from here too, but that one doesn't give you the conviction. That's the only difference. So don't wait until the full conviction to say, well, that's the only way we can drop. No, it doesn't work like that. You are using the logic wrong. And if you don't understand it, pause the video, listen it 100 times, or ask someone to explain it again in different words. Maybe my English is just too bad for you to understand. But that's the alpha. Right. Let's look at the weekly. If the weekly gets a rejection from here and it comes back below that 31, it turns into a fake out. I'm kind of expecting a fake out. I'm kind of expecting, best case, a higher low in here and then some move to the upside. Remember that I have a weekly chart with the roadmap of the RSI that I'm expecting. I was expecting to recover the falling wedge. Now we are right there. I'm expecting this to continue to the upside, but with the price in that period of I can't take this anymore, okay? So if you find yourself, and now that we are in a period of 6 months of I cannot take this anymore, I have to switch off, I cannot watch the Trading Parrot for longer, this is nonsense, how many more months I'm gonna be waiting for this to actually end the bear market? That is your buy. That is your best signal to buy. The signal where you feel suffocated. If you feel you cannot take it anymore, you are just 1 millimeter away from the best buy you could ever pick. Take that away with you, because it's the way the markets do things. It needs to be psychologically drilling to be a great entry. If it's not like that, it's just a mediocre one. You can still profit from mediocre entries. Yeah. Only look at that Ethereum. What a sexy place to be. This hopefully is gonna hold that level, the 2-1 there. Whereas Bitcoin already lost that level. Well, let's say if it's this, well, Bitcoin is underperforming in here. Crazy. Look at that. If I do it with Bitcoin, whatever support I use, except for the last line in the sand, are already being compromised, whereas with Ethereum is still holding the 2-1. Crazy. All right, I'm going to go and do the TA, the due diligence of, I say I was going to do Ethereum, and I was explaining in the previous stream, this is the third stream that I start because of the technical issues, that is pretty disappointing to see in here that wick there. There's still a chance of a higher low incoming at 19, maybe 100. And then another attempt to break the 2.2 roughly, which is kind of the weekly resistance that is currently pushing us down. We could get another one of these, right? With a move still into 3.5. Maybe we come back in here and we make it to 2.5. There is a chance we can do that, but we are now resetting so far on the week, and we are under the pressure of general markets. Because let me see if I have general markets in here. Let's look at the general markets. Can you go away? Thank you very much. And let's look at the S&P. The S&P is being rejected from that neckline at 6.6 so far on the weekly. We are still at Thursday, so there's one more day to revert things. So if Mr. Trump, if you want to say something fantastic like you're ending the war or something like that, then we can reclaim that, and we got a liquidity hunt right there, ready for the move up. And then that can turn into a bear trap. But if we close the week with this rejection from the 6755 neckline and below the last line of support, then we accelerate and potentially go into the Bollinger Band middle ground, which is a 6.1. That is previous support in here. I don't know how long it can take, but it could accelerate. Look at these weeks. Look at the distribution going on in there in the Nasdaq. So it's in favor of that setup. I am not saying that it's fully cooked. I'm not saying that it's for granted. So don't go away and say, you say we were going to drop, you say down, and well, it didn't go down and whatever. That's not the full takeaway. VIX is bouncing from the 22. It went into 35. And if it continues this trajectory, it could end up putting one of these peaks. And those are painful. DXY dollar is kind of, it closed a weekly above the $100, and now it came back down to see if that's gonna reject, if it's gonna be a liquidity hunt, and so far it's doing an attempt to reclaim 100.1, which is that line, or 100.2, which is that line that says that we can get into the 105. This structure in here to me looks bullish. And I've been bullish on dollar since more or less, I think it was May in 2025. So I have to say it's taking a lot longer than I was expecting to see to get dollar to 105. But if we remain in this structure, which is a double bottom or, really weird, but it's a bullish structure. It's also bullish because, 10 years liquidity hunt right there reclaimed. So it should have a rally into potentially 107. We saw the same setup on the US 10-year yield on the weekly. I called that reclaim of that level there, and I say we can get a rally into the top, and potentially we can break out from the top and then repeat a move into whatever 9%. I don't think we can do the full thing, but it is a reversal, and it looks like a flag that is currently breaking out. And dollar being bullish, the US 10-year yield being bullish, all of these things are not necessarily great looking, while at the same time assets that are more risky like Russell pointing to a rejection from neckline. That puts a lot of pressure on what we are seeing in here, starting from Ethereum and any other coin I'm going to look is going to pretty much look like it tried to reclaim something and do something significant, and it just couldn't. Let's look at the liquidity on Ethereum. ETH. TI never ages, it evolves. Right, so on the daily, we are seeing the same thing, right? The Ethereum is doing a retest, and I'm surprised that the Ethereum is doing better than Bitcoin. In this range in here, it looks better because it built that bullish structure and is currently coming for a retest. Of course, if Bitcoin pukes, it's going to destroy the setup on Ethereum. Ethereum is not going to survive by itself. Very rarely Ethereum has like an Ethereum season. And we've been in some, and we cover it in the channel, but once you are in Ethereum season and you have that Ethereum dominance spiking high, it's fantastic, but that's where I take profits normally on Ethereum. I think this is coming potentially to the 2.1 for a retest. At the moment it's at 2.130, very close. The daily support is at 45 RSI, so there is some room for this still to move down even beyond the 2.1, a little bit lower, to get to the actual support of the momentum. On the upper end, we left on the table up until 2.5. That's why I was saying that if Bitcoin still has some upside, which Rhythm Fear Index supports that idea, we could get to the 2.5 on Ethereum, and we could get with Bitcoin into 67, potentially the 80 to 82. I kind of more in favor of the 67. Let's look at the liquidity on Bitcoin first. Crazy that we went for the red here, then we have still some red of early shorts. We did not put red, and then we puke. It's almost like market maker was watching this. Maybe they have some different way of seeing that, but not red doesn't mean we are not gonna take it, but it's less than before, definitely. And now we're going for this liquidity. We seem to be going for 68. We're getting very close. Where is 68? It's around here. There's no peak of liquidity there. It starts getting more interesting at 65, and then the lower 60s, where we really have decent, more than that end there on the short term. So yeah, so if I enter at the 68, well, I need to do something about probably at 62 to add. Let's have a look back at Ethereum. Let's get closer to the price action in here. This is what we left on the table, but we have opportunities at 16 to 17. There's quite a big chunk there for the bear market. I'm hoping that on the bear market, if there is a full capitulation of Ethereum, we take all the way to 12, because then I will buy the heck of it, definitely. I bought at 18, but I'm reserving the big chunk if we get a real sell at those levels. All right, let's go with the next coin, which is going to be HBAR. HBAR. I think if this stream, I cover all the coins, is going to end up at 2 p.m. And then I'm not going to put more videos. I'm just going to cover everything and then put timestamps so you can skip to everything that you care about. So HBAR just going sideways. We get a delta right there. I think we covered that a few weeks ago. That is when we cross the percentile of the long shorts. We are still defending the support of 0.8. We got a breakout on momentum there. We haven't taken that low of 30. And we have a potential move into revenge rally at 46.86. 46.86 is located in red at the price of 0.12. So that, from where we are, is an upside of 32%. We are defending the 86. The lows during this cycle were at 42. So roughly, what is that? A 50% down, 54% down. So that is kind of the risk, to go back and revisit that level. And HBAR tends to do a lot to repeat what XRP does. Let me just see what XRP is doing at the moment. It's doing similar to Ethereum, rejecting a previous support. 1.5 is rejecting, and 1.3 might be at stake. And we keep putting lower lows there. So I wonder if we can get into 80 cents, somewhere there. If really this accelerates, that's the way. We have a channel there on XRP. Next point of touch is at around 96. So maybe the $1 at some point needs to be tested Do we have some previous resistance at $1? No, we tend to get rejected at 76. At 76, that's the most common rejection. Tell me about it. I was holding all that way and I was, another rejection, another rejection. When we were here and I was selling, it was the best day of my life. So if we go to that 76 from the other end, which is fantastic to land there with empty hands. I don't have any XRP, but if you go to 76, I will shout, get some, because it might be a great opportunity. The $1, 93, rejection there and there. In here, closing below that, there's no real reaction to the $1, which is surprising. I would have expected the $1 to be more important. We have some sort of peak there in the volume at the $1. And I guess it comes from this time here on the 2nd of February, maybe combined with the price action in here. Right, let's look at the liquidity on HBAR. Very quickly, let's see what's above and below on the daily. Perfect. Let's get 3x, 20x. And yeah, I was showing you on HBAR. Let's go back to HBAR. I was talking about a revenge rally, right? HBAR USDT that was roughly at 12 cents. What do we have at 12 cents? Well, we have some liquidity and we might be able to do a bit more to the upside because this is so homogeneous in here. It's very well distributed. There's no big depressions there, and it's consistently increasing as well up until 16. So there might be there a good recipe for a short squeeze with the right conditions of the market, of course. And on XRP, let's do the equivalent XRP. What opportunities do we have from this channel? Oh, we left a lot on the table. On the table, we left 167, 175, 180. So those are the equivalent ones. With this correction, we're still defending on the daily that move down. A little bit deeper than 143, let's say 135, and we're going to get a breakdown on the daily of XRP. Just keep that in mind. Let's go to BTC, Ethereum. That's the next one requested by my community. Let me do it the way I like it. ETH, USDT. There you go. So, yeah, I've noticed that I told you that Ethereum is performing decently well compared to when we were looking at the chart side by side. It was looking like Ethereum was doing better than BTC. It's usually the opposite. You see BTC containing better the moves down. I think it's because Ethereum performed well on the breakout. It got pretty high. And then when it's correcting, it's just coming to the neckline. Whereas Bitcoin has been barely doing, hitting liquidity levels. So slightly higher than the previous high only, not a real substantial move up on Bitcoin. That's why Ethereum is looking like it's defending better the levels. You can see it there on the daily. You can see it in here with the RSI on the weekly. Yeah, that level of 31 is looking okay. So if Ethereum is doing well, that might bring some upside for the altcoins at some point. Hopefully we turn this 31 ratio into support. If we can get Bitcoin to perform once again, it might leave some room for the altcoins to do something. So if you bounce from the 31, it takes you into the 40. In sync, the alts are gonna perform well. you don't wait until getting to 40 to start trading altcoins. So you need to be looking for levels on your altcoins and averaging into some position, but of course at the cost that we are, I believe, not yet done with the bear market. So that could lead into a lower low for the, in general, for crypto in all the altcoins. But I think this looks promising for a mini micro season, potentially, if it defends that level, of course, of the RSI as well with the 49. Right, let's go to the next coin, which is FET. And I think that is the symbol. And FET tried to exit from this resistance on the price action. On the RSI, it has already done it. So this correction in here at 20 cents might be a good opportunity. When I say good opportunity, careful how you take away that statement, okay? We're not done with the bear market, so this is a trader's kind of statement. It's like a potential good opportunity if you know how to get out if you're wrong and all that stuff. Trader, not investment. Not like buy it, leave it in the wallet, and come back in 3 months and then think that it's going to be up. Not necessarily. It could put a new low. Things can get really bad. But traders-wise, the momentum is saying, I'm done with that, right? The thing against is that it has already broken out here. It failed. It broke out here, failed. So this will be a layer 3 breakout. But with more fake outs that have trapped other people, you get a better opportunity for yourself, I believe. So potentially this is the one that could make it into 34 or slightly higher. Hopefully it can reclaim the 34. So yeah, I would personally think about a small accumulation at 20. Hopefully we don't need to go to that 15, but don't rule it out. BNB. The S&P and the Nasdaq is dropping too. People are saying in the comments, was there some news? Did Trump run his mouth again? I seriously don't know. You know, I have a mixed relation, a love and hate relation with the news. I don't care that much about news for my trading, and sometimes I have this feeling that the news are just becoming noise in my trading. I cover the news because it's like cool to talk about the TA and then support it with the news and pair it, and being able to do that is something that I admire in other traders, in other YouTube channels, that I don't admire necessarily for their performance as a trader, but I like to hear a YouTube channel that matches things, if you get what I mean. But personally, if I could just be in a bubble and just look at the TA of the S&P, the TA of crypto, the TA of Forex, and just leave me there in a dark room. I don't want to hear anything about Trump, war, or anything. I just want to look at the charts. And I think I might be able to do it much better than just having in the back of my head, oh, there's a war ongoing. You know, I don't care. If the chart goes up, it goes up. That means that the war is just noise. And if it goes down, it means that something really bad is about to happen. And that's why people say, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. Right, let's go back to BNB. BNB had this green engulfing candle that was positive. There's been a massive sell-off. It's been in this trading range, one of the largest hills of the volume profile. The biggest one is 236, and then the second biggest is 844. So obviously, I don't have to tell you, if the 600 fails, we might pay a visit to $300, okay? And watch out with a move like this, because that forms something really ugly that, you know, it the technical target cannot be achieved. It's just so ugly that it points to minus $200. Well, I don't think we can get there, right? But it's ugly, the pattern. So that hopefully it gets invalidated, and it can get invalidated if you form the full head and shoulder and then you break down and then you reclaim and you can start rallying. Binance is great. They have massive amount of ownership of all the perpetuals. Most people trade there either by proxy or by Binance itself. But there's a lot of speculation this cycle that they are going to be the new FTX. That's why careful with Binance. Hopefully it doesn't happen, because it will drag the whole crypto space down with it, you know. But yeah, so that is an important level that we are currently testing. Hopefully this support brings some upside. Watch out once we get at 800, because that was the previous resistance. There is the neckline at that area, and it can end up churning into a go back to the 600 and then form a head and shoulder. That target is extremely incredible. So let's look at this. Let's look at that last week it was like a microscopic breakout. You can see it there, but now we are kind of being pushed back down. I think, what is the low? 32, 33. I think if Bitcoin turns the equivalent breakout on the weekly RSI into a fake out, then this guy is going to come back down too. If Bitcoin somehow goes for a new high, that not necessarily a higher high, then Binance could have also a mini season in here, a breakout and some upside. Yeah, the 800, definitely watch out for that, because that could be the level where we start bleeding again. It's good. I really like that the longs are pulling out. I really like that we're getting very close to the percentile. We're not there yet at those levels where Binance seems to capitulate, which is around the 32. At the moment, we're at 42. So there's a little bit of room to the downside if this fails. Let's go to liquidation levels. Liquidation level on BNB. Put this like that. Right, so we still have that 484 and we have the $200. I'm surprised that there is nothing at $300. I was expecting to see it there. And on the upside, we had those levels that are pretty much equivalent to Bitcoin being over $100,000. So I think you need Bitcoin to cross $100,000 to target those. The low-hanging fruit that we left on the table, because Bitcoin is now moving down, are from 688 into $800. When you put 5x, let's put all the liquidation levels. Why this always have to be click again and again? I wish they changed the platform. So that $800 that move into there favors the formation of a head and shoulder on BNB. So careful getting into $800, because if the motivation to go up ends with this liquidation and then you start coming down to take that liquidation, then you get the breakdown of that potential incoming head and shoulders. No one is saying that that's the final outcome. That is for granted, but watch out for that. The next coin is BNKR. Oh, sorry. This is not a coin. I think it's not a coin, right? Damn it. It's a coin and is also a general asset. So whoever voted for this as an elite, please let me know in a comment in the live stream which one you want, because I cannot do both. I'm going to go to the next one, which is ILS. Let me copy it because I'm not sure how to spell that. There you go. Is Israel Shekel futures, and I'm gonna use this one. I never done TA of this, never seen it before, but I guess is relevant now with all the war. You know, people are doing TA of oil pretty much every day in every channel now. Right, so that's a level of resistance, obviously. And as we land there, we got a percentile probably applied to the RSI signal. That's a sell signal. Let's see this internal breakdown there. It's crazy that the RSI is resisting so much there, but the price action is still sticking around the resistance. It's almost like, yeah, I'm resetting the momentum, I'm slowing down, but I'm not going anywhere, right? Because I will expect, if this was really that bearish, I would expect the price to at least put a bull flag, like in this shape, but it's doing this shape instead. So that is looking like there's a lot of people thinking that it's going to break out. Let me see if there's any significant level in here of previous resistance. There is one there. So there's like a band around the 31. So I would have expected the first attempt to hit that to form a bull flag into 31.5 and then see if we can do another attempt. A deeper one is to get into actual 3.0 and then potentially form a cup and handle pattern that will be also bullish on the weekly. Going beyond that, well, then you form kind of a double top, and then it starts becoming bearish. So, you know, breaking below 30, and you start heading towards the full double top, and that can be really bearish. And particularly if you break below the RSI 53 on the weekly, that could also confirm it. But I think if you get in here or in there and you build a long and you target the cup and handle potential, that could be great. Obviously, I'm not giving you levels so you go in the broker and you put them blindly, right? So those are the initial plan. The plan needs to go through, you know, what the hell is going on at that point, in technicals and volume, momentum, everything in lower time frames. This is a weekly. So this is just a very high level plan with very little research. Just have just an initial thought. So don't take it away for just putting limit orders in the exchange and come back. It didn't play out because there's no forecast. There is no future vision, crystal balls, or anything like that. Just an opportunity. And this could as well break out. But if it breaks out from here, it could put a lower high on the momentum with a breakout here and then a retest. And I don't like that. I don't like putting that bearish divergence like this and coming for a retest there. So if you find yourself in that situation and you are already in a little bit of profit, protect that position because it's getting quite toppy if we get to that state. Right, let's go with the next one, and I'm sure you're going to like it. This one is Solana, classic. Let's do some TA of Solana. Let's see how much it managed to do. So Ethereum was against the resistance. Bitcoin is coming down there. Solana, if we can do this a bit more accurate, yeah, it put a breakout last Sunday, and now it's coming back down, but very humbly. So it's not giving back a lot of momentum. It's actually performing similar to Ethereum, that it put a green weekly candle, and then it came back to test neckline. So they're both in a state of saying, you know, Bitcoin, you're having some drama, but for as long as you stay around there, I'm just going to have a very mild move down, and I'm going to test the neckline of the breakout. Let's see this in the liquidity. There you go. think, yeah, it looks pretty similar to Ethereum, right? A slightly less clean than Ethereum, because Ethereum had resistance, breakout clean, come back to retest. This one has that level there, and we are slightly below that level there. Not a big deal, right? But we gave, as with Ethereum, back the full breakout level. And RSI looks healthy on the daily and is testing just like Bitcoin, that level. Bitcoin is slightly below it, I believe, and I think still is. Let me know in the comments. I'm not seeing it. But Solana is defending that, which is also proving that alts are kind of in this mood of, please, Bitcoin, do another jump so I can do a little bit more. So because there's some low-hanging fruit for alts in here. I've seen it across the board. You can see that alts, Ethereum, which one was the other one? BNB, FET, HBAR, XRP, they all have some chunky, juicy levels there of liquidity. And if Bitcoin really allows that additional move up, maybe these guys are just going to go and grab some of that, or maybe all of that. And I'm not talking about the ones here. Those ones are very difficult to reach. You need 100K Bitcoin, but the ones that we're seeing in there are numbers that you probably want to take note across the board on all the coins that I have covered so far. Solana, let's see the weekly RSI. Yeah, I saw that. No one is caring about Solana, so very low socials. Long shorts are spiking in here. Yeah, they're accumulating. Not yet at the percentile. Let's go with the next one, which is Hype. In KuCoin, well, it did manage to test that level of resistance. It complete the full thing. Why? Because that is at an RSI of 60. And let's track where was 60. And you're going to see that price went beyond that. It went to, let's calculate it. Let's do a reverse RSI. 61, 62, 63, no, too far. It went to 62.5 intra-candle on the weekly, putting a breakout that I really don't like. I don't like a breakout with a slope resistance like this. That's kind of scrapping the last bit of momentum, really. But it took it and it got rejected now. So that was a fantastic short to do in line with the one I did on Bitcoin. Now, hopefully, we hold the 37 to have another attempt, because this one is going to close slightly below, so there might be a little bit of extra room to the upside. I'm not calling for a long, definitely not. Too late to enter in a long. I will probably prefer to take a short if we get back into those levels. Yeah, if we go back to 40 something around here, if we get to 44, I will probably consider a short from there. I think Hype is going to have very high prices next cycle, and along with other decentralized exchanges, and I think it's worth accumulating. So hopefully we get a massacre and we can buy Hype very cheap later on this year. Let's go into the next one. Oh, let me see if we see some liquidity on Hype coming from Binance. Okay, it liquidate that. Is this Hype? Yeah. Okay, so at $20 is the largest. There is some at 24. And on the upper end, what is the low-hanging fruit? Let me see. So Hype managed to get to $60 and it left at 60, which I think is out of reach for bear market. Potentially Hype can get there in the bear market still. There are some coins that sometimes, just some outliers that manage to put some all-time high in the bear market, but it has to be just for a very specific reason. And I definitely encourage you to stay away from that hopium, because literally finding the altcoin that does that fantastic performance in the bear market is like winning the lottery. You cannot find it by doing TA. Is, you know, randomly happen. I think hype could be one of those, but I'm not calling it, and I'm not gonna, you know, buy it here to expect it to go there in the bear market, because it's just a 1% or less probability to do it. But hype has a good chance, because a lot of people are moving into decentralized because of all the regulations. The more you put regulations, the more bullish Monero and privacy coins and decentralized exchanges are going to be. Of course, they're going to be eventually targeted by the regulation, but not before all the centralized things get targeted. So you get that contention first. Right. I completed with that. Let's go with SUI. Let's go with SUI. SUI defending support. We were calling for that 89 and a potential move to new lows at 59. But it seems that we are defending, not reclaiming yet 35, courtesy of the move down of Bitcoin. Otherwise, we will be at $1, which is where we got rejected, coming back down. Hopefully, we defend the 93. And weekly resistance is at 42.90. Let's see where that is. 42.90. That is right there at 134, which is the next level in my chart, approximately, right? That is 135, but actually it's at 134, but it's a moving target. If price starts coming up, the RSI target is going to start creeping up into the 135.36. So yeah, I've been thinking that maybe we can make that move into the next level of resistance. We did some progress, like a 1/3, but there's still quite a lot to get to that target. It's the biggest level of point of control, so it's a strong support, just like 67 point control is. It's not a level of support, it's the point of control, right? So you trade around that level, and so far it's acting both as support coincidentally. And let's look at the liquidity on SUI. Good day, Mariano. Keep it up, my friend. Market open will show us the truth. Could reverse, but a further dump seems more likely. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. Let's go into SUI on the daily liquidation levels. So, yeah, that low-hanging fruit that we didn't take in the case of SUI goes from $1 into 1,262. So the way I will play this is, at the lows, I start building a position. Okay? Small, size 1, 2, max out of 10. And at these levels, you build a more decent position, right? Because you get 80 cents, 77, 72, 68, 63. And then you build that position around those levels to target that liquidity there. That is a trade. It can also serve as accumulation on spot. Of course, I don't know anything about SUI, the project itself. It seemed to have been performed on the two first legs in the bull cycle. It performed really well. I was there on the third. It started looking deflated on the RSI, and I got out of SUI. At the moment, we are below support on the weekly. So I will expect upside, but just deflated for now into the 136 max, the $2 during the bear market. Right, next one is, I'm going to get with the last one, it's going to be Chilis, and then I'm going to take some requests from you guys. Remember that for requesting in the live chat, you have to be the latest comment. And the latest comment is always the ones that I'm going to review. So on Chilis, higher low, bullish divergence. Yeah, that is the bullish divergence. It moved into resistance. This is an RSI of 70. Wow. You don't see many of those in the bear market. 68 is pretty cool that it did that, right? It's something that I wouldn't expect in a bear market. Like I would expect it to stop at 58, but you know, the longs went all the way into that resistance. And let's see if they left a lot on the upper end. Unfortunately, it's not available. Right, I'm gonna start taking requests on the comments, and the latest comment is gonna be the first that I do. I used to be premium member. Gold and silver went up. Gold can recover. Oil. Oh, no one is requesting anything, I think. We could do gold. I'm curious about gold. I'm gonna take a request from myself. I'm gonna do gold and silver. Wow, what just happened? Fascinating. All right, so yesterday we were looking in the video at that move there, and gold did a pretty decent move. Fantastic. I want to watch my video, see what the hell I said, but I think I said I was calling for the 4-3, and I was talking about the 4-5. We hit the 4-5. My God. Let me see. Is that an area where we can bounce? We had the Bollinger Band. Because this has been incredible. And I think this is deflating already. It's very toppy. I think if the 4-3 doesn't hold, we can really make a move into the median. We haven't touched the median since October 2023. And that is trading at 3.7. Of course, it's moving up. Let's go back in time in here. For example, this breakdown came from 2000. It eventually hit the median, and then that was a great trade with upside. There were a few of them, and eventually you land in the lower Bollinger Band. That is in 2011. Why we don't have more Bollinger Band here? Because it's monthly, unfortunately. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty toppy with the gold. Let me see the breakdown. That's the breakdown on the daily. Let's zoom out and let's see what happened on the weekly. Finally, okay. So that is the breakdown on the weekly. It's happening this week. This week we broke that level that we've been tracking for months. So far it's been defended pretty nicely, and well, we need to close the week, so we have until tomorrow. If we close like that, well, that's a full breakdown. It really needs to go back about 5,000 to defend that, but you can see on the weekly the squeeze wasn't coming, right? You have these highs that were being squashing the RSI at 80, and the lows were coming in, and eventually that thing, that's the actual beginning of the puke. Careful, because next week we might have a move like this. And so that is not your short, dude. You should have short here. That is your level to potentially build long between here and here to, you know, to target something like this volatility, because this is very substantial to the downside. So looking for a small long there at 4.5, increase at 4, and leave some for 3.5. If we never land there, where those funds can go into something else. But volatility to upside can come here, because people are gonna get bullish after 3 years of this going up. All eyes on gold. So even though if this is the top, there can be those rallies, and I show you already in 2011 how that happened from the around or slightly below the median. Slightly below the median at the moment is 3.5, and it's overlapping with that resistance. So beautiful area there for a larger order. On silver, it's an M pattern. I'm so disappointed that copper did nothing. This went completely against me. I was expecting copper to follow with what is it called, with what the other metals and do something decent, but it only did the rally into resistance there. It never escaped this like the others did. It's still stuck. Eventually copper, if things get better in the world, it starts becoming more expensive because copper is needed to do things, whereas gold is needed to do nothing, just to store it. I mean, you can make rings with gold, and there's some electronics that need gold, yeah, sure, but but not like copper. Copper is needed for all electronics, for wires, for everything. And literally the ratios between gold and copper call for the health of an economy. The more copper, the more expensive copper is because it's needed, and there's a lot of production going on. Anyways, the last one I'm gonna do is oil, and I'm gonna call it for today. Tomorrow I'll make another video. I'm really tired. Well, it's defending this level that is coming from that high here. Is it looking toppy today? It's not looking toppy today. There's still room to go to test the first support on the daily. It's just a flag. If it goes into 63, what happens? Hello, RSI, where are you? Oh my God, it's not working. Let's do it with TTP, VIP, RSI. Right, this one. Reverse RSI. Sorry, I'm a little bit slow today. What was the level? Gosh, 63. 62.80, yeah. Okay, whatever. 62.8. Let's disable those. So we already tested that level, but intra-candle. So I will say it's still bullish if we are only taking this fair value gap up until $89. We can wick lower, but we need to be containing candle closes around $88, $89 to still call this bull flag. Ideally, this trends down into that level, and we see volume declining, and we see the momentum testing the support, and then we can get an opportunity to see potentially oil increasing. And this is very coupled with the conflict, obviously, in Iran. So expect a lot of volatility, a lot of manipulation. Prices of oil are different now per economy. There's just so much crap going on. That's look at the charts. We need to keep an eye on the charts and not on the news, really. Right, I think I'm gonna call it off for today. I'm very slow. I hope you enjoyed still the stream. I hope you found value on what we are doing. There were a lot of technical issues, but we managed somehow to survive. XRP, already I covered that. Right, the last one I'm gonna do ICP, and that's it. And then we're done. ICP lost support, is below the lows of 2023, is below all lows, so it's really doing pretty bad, and it went from price discovery to the downside, and it found 2.1 being support, and it went into previous support, the previous support that held ICP through lifetime, and it just tests that. If we reclaim 2.9, that will be bullish, and it can promise some upside into the next levels of resistance, which are 4.5, which we already went to 4.5. So if we are going up, possibly we can get into 5.8 at some point. If we come from the context of reclaiming $293. If the bears still push and we come back and we take that low, there can be still some additional discovery to the downside. Notice that on Binance this went already into 1.1, so that's the only kind of point of contact that we have, a point of reference, sorry, which is the $1.1 at the moment. So if that is a rejection and we take that low, we might find ourselves trading at around $1, which is really bad. Now, if we take in consideration the closing prices of the weekly, we have a bullish divergence incoming in here that's not appearing in the automatic chart, but I can tell you it's there because this points down and this points up. So that is slightly calling for at some point reclaiming the $3 during the bear market. But how you break that prospect? You break it if this RSI takes that low there, because then you put a new low, and if that low takes that one there, then there is no longer bullish divergence, because I'm using this pivot and that pivot, and then you put up next to it a pivot lower, then it's all destroyed, and at that point you land in $1. But if you keep defending this ascending sloping trend line, you can have some upside. But what upside? ICP. Where is your upside for bear market? Where are those degen shorts? The low-hanging fruit at the moment is the $3, which we partially went there and took some of it. But as you can see, many short resistance, and they left there high risk at around 2.9 into $3. There's another hill at 3 up to 3.2. Betting on 3,450 is a little bit of a stretch. Market maker might get no motivation to go that far because it's small still, but it could happen. Upper end. What do we have on the upper end? That was taken. We're on the 4 hour. Let's go to the daily. Better. So that one took everything up until $10, and that happened in November. ICP is really not forgiving with shorts, guys. Be very careful with trading this. It's really, really, really bad for range traders. Imagine trading this range and not knowing that the modus operandi is like this. Then suddenly you take a short on that fake out there because you have this line. And you say, oh, it's breaking down, take a short. Fantastic. This one in here broke down. It achieved quite a big pain there, and then breakout. So if it was to do something similar, let's see if we can spot the plan, an ongoing plan to do something similar. I cannot see it this time. I don't see from where. I mean, potentially you get like a sweep the low there and then some sort of move like that. I don't know, but it's not as significant, it's not as evident as this one, where you are in a squeeze, you prepare the trap, you tell all traders that you're gonna be within that squeeze, and that once you exit the squeeze, then you ring the alarm and you go the opposite way in a disgusting way. In here is evident, in here is not yet evident. So let me know if you can spot it. I mean, just maybe that, in which case the setup looks a little bit like this. you know, any downside, reclaim, and then you get that move there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it there and let's see in the future. Guys, I hope you enjoy the live stream. I hope you learned one or two things. If you did, write down a comment down below. If you didn't, write down a comment down below. You're welcome. If you want to complain, it's okay. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm not sure if I have still energy to make another video for Bitcoin today. I'm gonna take a break and take it easy, enjoy my gains, my profits, my 100% win rate, and I'll